Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us on the news briefing for this Wednesday. The Monterey County Water Resources Agency is preparing to expand its groundwater monitoring program to meet today's state-mandated regulatory requirements. What is new about the program and why are these changes taking place? We have got the source of information for that one. We're very pleased to have Azhderian, who is the Monterey County Water Resources Agency General Manager, here with us in our Sea Cave media studio. But we also have Amy Woodrow, who's Senior with this agency, and she is with us by Zoom. Era, thank you so much for being here today to talk about this. And I know there's a meeting coming up later this week for stakeholders about this program. So I'm hoping you'll walk us through what is new with this program.
Yeah, and thank you, Maya, for the opportunity to be here today. If you don't mind, can we share the slides that we have?
Right now.
Very good. I think before we delve into the details of the program, I'd like to back up a little bit and just provide a bit of context, right? And so the program that we're moving forward with is an expansion of groundwater monitoring that the agency's been doing for some time. And a very natural question is, well, why is that important? Why do we need to manage and monitor and manage our groundwater resources? And so I think very simply put, for Monterey County, it's important to recognize that our $33.3 billion gross regional project is largely a groundwater dependent economy. Very little surface water gets delivered within the boundaries of Monterey County. And so whether that's the agricultural industry, which produces $4.4 billion of economic activity at the farm gate, or even the tourism industry, largely on the peninsula, it's attributed for $1.8 billion of activity. Most of what is occurring there is supported by groundwater. So it's critical to the county's success that our groundwater be managed sustainably and into the future. Next slide. It's also important to recognize that we're a groundwater dependent workforce, right? Agriculture and its related industries employ almost 40% of the county's workforce. And so, it's very important for our jobs. Next slide, please. And it's also very important to the industry of agriculture that works so tirelessly to produce the fruits and vegetables that we all benefit from every day. Oftentimes there's this portrayal that, well, ag is using all the water. They're not. They're producing products that we all consume together. They're just turning it into different things that we all enjoy every night at our dinner tables. Next slide. So great question that you'd raised. Why something different now? The Water Resources Agency has performed activities to monitor groundwater for decades. And we've had a formal plan in place since the early 1990s. But all of that work was done because it was smart to do, right? It wasn't required. It was just a good management practice. But at the end of the day, discretionary. And so as resources changed, the scope or the scale or the frequency of the program could also change. In 2014, the state of California passed what's commonly referred to as the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act. And that's the one that mandates groundwater sustainability throughout the state and that folks have been responding to since. In broad strokes, it assigns certain responsibilities to the California Department of Water Resources. They act as a primary technical assistant, obviously a funding agency. They are the ones that established the groundwater subbasins, drew the lines that people talk about so often. And ultimately, they're the ones who will be our jurors in terms of, are we being successful in implementation of our plans? If not, they then can turn to the State Water Resources Control Board, which was assigned essentially the backstop is the way they would describe it. Others may say enforcer. And they have the ability to come in and intervene in the management of groundwater in sectors that are failing to perform. And we're seeing this happen in the San Joaquin Valley. So a very key component to the success of SGMA, the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, was the assignment or the ability to assign responsibility to manage your resources locally. And incredibly important that we maintain that local governance, that local insight. And so in 2017, an agency was formed for that role, the Salinas Valley Basin Groundwater Sustainability Agency. Next slide. And so this is just a simple map illustrating their service area. In the north, in the southwest corner, there is an overlap there with another GSA, the Marina Coast Water District GSA. But by and large, the Salinas Valley Basin GSA is in charge of meeting the sustainability objectives throughout the valley. Next slide, please. So when DWR drew its lines, it didn't come to the Water Resources Agency and ask us what we thought, notwithstanding we'd been doing it some while beforehand. And they ended up drawing boundaries that are outside of the areas that have been historically monitored. And this is why the need today for the expansion. And so DWR went to the Salinas Valley Basin and said, you need to cover these. And so we began, the Water Resources Agency and the Salinas Valley Basin GSA began a conversation with stakeholders almost 2 years ago about what's the best path forward. Should the GSA stand up a little mini program that's parallel to just take care of these areas that are data gaps? Do they take over the whole thing? Ultimately, stakeholders and ultimately the Board of Supervisors decided the best path forward would be to leverage the experience and the knowledge that the agency has in terms of meeting these modern challenges. Next slide, please. So what remains the same and what's changing? For most in that colored area on the map, things aren't going to change. Their wells are already registered. They've been reporting for years. They're going to continue to do that. And they're not going to see a lot of change. And certainly from the agency's perspective, how we approach the work, the way we measure groundwater levels, water quality, the way we manage data, in the short term, those things aren't going to change either. Of course, all of that will evolve with improvements in technology and so forth. But in the near term, for those who've been a part of this in the past, these activities in the past, it's going to look very much the same. What we're really wanting to reach out to are for the folks that this is going to be brand new, right? And so even within those historical boundaries, there are going to be people who've never had to register and report before, and certainly outside of them. And so with your help and the help of others, we're wanting to begin this outreach and this awareness so they can understand, why is this coming and what's the importance of it. One other thing I think is important to note is historically, fees throughout the valley have been allocated on a per acre basis on a property tax roll. And as we're talking about implementing a new fee to support this program, it's important to note that this will not be on your property tax roll. This will be an individual bill that well owners receive directly from the agency. There's been some confusion about that. Next slide. So in conclusion, what are the benefits of this groundwater monitoring program? It's really to inform the plans that are meant to achieve sustainability in the long term. And why are we doing that? Ultimately, it's to preserve the quality of life for the hundreds of thousands of people who are dependent on groundwater in the Salinas Valley Basin. It's certainly critical to maintain local governance and oversight, and to meet the rigorous needs of not only the state regulatory mandates, but the reporting requirements that DWR has put upon us. We're looking to expand our historical work to meet modern needs, and we're looking to improve the way local government agencies work together to explore efficiencies going forward. So we're not duplicating efforts. Ultimately, with the proposed per well water regulatory fee, we're also looking to establish an equitable cost allocation method. And so those with wells, it's much like if you think about the efforts that we undertake to preserve air quality, people with cars go and pay to have them smog, and so that we can monitor, that performance and manage air quality. This is very much in that vein. Next slide, please. So the regulatory fee proposal, this was enacted in an ordinance adopted by the Board of Supervisors. last October. And basically what the fee study lays out are 5 types of fees. So there would be, if you go and drill a brand new well, or for some reason there's a change in land ownership, perhaps a new well becomes apparent to us, there would be a one-time fee just to register the well, and only a one-time fee. And then on an annual basis, there different areas of the valley will receive different layers of costs depending on what services they get. So annual renewal, this is maintaining the database. Extraction reporting, that's knowing how much water is coming out of the basin. The level monitoring and the quality monitoring are meant to for us to understand, is it sustainable? Is the water quality being maintained, or the water levels being maintained? And so again, the main change here, not so much in how we're approaching these activities, but how we're allocating the costs on a per well and not a per acre basis. Next slide. And then, yeah, it's a natural question to ask, well, historically, how have these activities been funded? And it's really been ad hoc funding, right? It's been grant funds, it's been ad valorem, it's been special benefits assessments, it's this hodgepodge. Sometimes it hasn't been funded at all. And that's one of the things that's very different from the past from today. Because in the past, when it was a discretionary program, we could make it smaller, we could make it bigger. Let's not do that this year. Let's skip a few years. Sometimes it would be done every 5th year, every 2nd year. But in the 21st century, we are expected to maintain this information, in a very vigorous way. And so that's what we're trying to do here. Those historical funding sources will continue to go out and support the operation and maintenance that we do on the dams and infrastructure in between. So next slide, please. And then just to put the proposed fees into a context. So the first line, initial well registration, that would be if you drill a new well or a well's identified to us, and that would be that one-time fee of $160. Then there's essentially 3 other categories of rate payers, if you will, or fee payers. There are those who don't have a reporting requirement. They're called de minimis, and this is a threshold that's established by the state. And so they would have registration and water level costs, and so they would be paying $140 a well per year. And then those in the middle would be paying the $204, and then those with the most obligations, if you will, or the most needs, including water quality, could pay up to $280. So where you are in the Salinas Valley will determine how much you're paying, because the number of services you're receiving per the groundwater sustainability plans that have been developed will change. And so we're just trying to illustrate that for folks. It's not a postage stamp approach. We're trying to be very thoughtful about, what's the level of service being received and why. Next slide, please. So to your point, yes. And so we're on the cusp of this outreach. Tomorrow we are holding a stakeholder workshop. This is really largely aimed at those in the agricultural industry. They've been a part of this conversation for some time. They've seen this proposal coming. Tomorrow's a chance for us to receive their input and think about, what refinements can we do to the study and so forth. As we move towards final approval. And then you can kind of see the schedule towards final approval culminating with the Board of Supervisors meeting on the 28th when they adopt the 2026 fee schedules. So several opportunities to still weigh in. We will continue to look to you and others in terms of spreading the word. For all of those areas that have never been a part of this in the past, that's going to be, quite an effort, but very important that people become aware. We don't want to catch people off guard. And so thank you for the opportunity today. Next slide. And then so for more information, folks can connect to our website and learn more about the groundwater monitoring program. The draft regulatory fee is there. We have the workshop tomorrow, and then we have our finance committee meeting on Friday. So lots of opportunities coming up to engage and to query and, and to comment. So I appreciate the opportunity to explain all that.
Well, and thank you for the really thorough review. I think there are a lot of people who don't know how long this process has been going, and they may have heard about the Salinas Valley Subbasin Group, but they don't really know how it affects them. Like if someone lives in the city, they wouldn't realize that it really has a value to them to keep our water source sustainable. For anyone who has questions, please go ahead and feel free and put them in chat. One question that I did get in prior to the briefing was, for a long time, there was less regulation on the water that was being used for agriculture. A lot has changed over the decades, and now you have agriculture as a stakeholder in the sustainability program. Is that data that you're collecting, is that being really, there's a new look and a new appreciation for the data that's being developed to better understand what water we have down in the aquifer, because people want to grow crops forever here. They don't want to all of a sudden have to stop because we've run out of water.
Absolutely. And that data is key to informing the management decisions that need to be made to ensure that that sustainability occurs, right? We want crops to be grown here forever. It's very much it's not just the economy of Monterey County, but it's very much the culture of Monterey County as well. And if we think about agriculture as being the heart of the county's economy, then that groundwater supply is its bloodstream, right? And so the data has become more important than ever, and that ability to also demonstrate to those in Sacramento who are watching over our shoulders, are you achieving your objectives? Are you achieving sustainability? It's critically important that we can demonstrate that so we can avoid that outside intervention.
And you mentioned state oversight to a certain degree. People who come to Monterey County find that water and where we get water is very different from other parts of the state where there's federal water and other water sources. And I'm just hoping you might just give just a super brief primer of why Monterey County is unique in its water source.
Yeah, and that's an excellent point. I mean, if you're in San Francisco, a lot of your water is coming from the Hetch Hetchy. If you're in Los Angeles, it's coming from multiple states, right? But years ago, because of its geographic isolation, I think in large part, when the State Water Project was being constructed, you saw a lot of the Central Coast regions opting out just because of the costs that would have been incurred to bring that supply from canals that were running north to south through the San Joaquin Valley all the way to the Salinas Valley. You saw that change a little bit in the drought of the late 80s, early 90s, when Santa Barbara County finally said me, and they decided to connect to the State Water Project. But Monterey has never been in that position. They wisely made decisions in the 40s and the 50s that put them in this position of developing the dams and developing what we today call a conjunctive use project. Back then, that terminology didn't exist, but this idea that we're taking surface water, we're holding it to a more opportune time, we're releasing it, and we're recharging our groundwater for future use. Was very novel, and it's really put the county in a unique and superior position, I think.
And then one last question. We're now reaching out to stakeholders who have never been part of the program, and yet they have used the water resources.
Yes.
How, I'm sure the agriculture interests who have been part of the program are appreciating the expansion. How are you encouraging those new to the program to become a part and show the value of being part of this?
Yeah, and that's an interesting challenge in that, for folks, it's easy to sit down and think simplistically, well, I've been pumping my groundwater for years, what's different now? And the point is that we want to be able to sustain that, not just for you, but for the generations that come afterwards. And I think people being able to understand that long-term view and the importance of it, not only for their own pieces of property, but their neighbors and their communities and their culture is going to be key to getting folks to appreciate the benefit of all of this work.
So stakeholders tomorrow at Schilling Place?
Schilling Place.
In person or by Zoom?
Well, if it's in person, we're asking for RSVPs because the room only holds so many. But there is also a Zoom link. And I believe if folks go to our website, they can see a save the date, and there's an email address for an RSVP, or there's a Zoom link to participate virtually.
And we do have a graphic for that. We'll go ahead and share it on our social, and we'll email it out to all the participants. Era, thank you so much for walking us through and really compressing a lot of complex detail about water in Monterey County, which is very complicated, into such a very short amount of time. I really appreciate it. And best of luck on the workshop tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next topic. Each year, the Veterans Stand Down offers a one-stop location for veterans to get services that they have earned and many of them desperately need, particularly veterans who have been homeless or might be at risk or who are elderly. The next stand down is April 18th, and we're very pleased to have Adam Errahebi from our Military and Veterans Affairs Office to talk about why the state is so important. Hi, Adam. Thanks very much for being on the briefing.
Thank you for having me, Maya. Happy to be here. And may I share my screen?
Oh, I hope you will.
Perfect. Awesome. So okay. So again, my name is Adam Errahebi. I'm with the County of Monterey Military and Veterans Affairs Office. And today I wanted to just share a little bit of information about our Veteran Stand Down and Resource Fair we're hosting on, like Maya said, April 18th. That's how you can get a hold of me, my county email. I'll also have a slide at the end. And moving forward, so our event, the Veteran Stand Down and Resource Fair will be held Friday, April 18th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. at the County Coastal Offices, 2620 First Avenue in Marina, California. If you're familiar with District 4 Supervisor Wendy Rudaskew's office, that is the same building. And something that's a little different that we're doing this year is there's no pre-registration required. It's open to all veterans, their families, and caregivers. So in years past, the event has been very strictly based on homeless veterans and at-risk veterans. We wanted to take a different approach this year to open it up to any veteran, their families, and caregivers to have a broader range of services. The goal is to bring as many services, resources, and benefits as possible to one location to serve the entire veteran community. And oftentimes veterans need a combination of care to achieve their treatment goals. And like I said before, we wanted to bring as many resources as possible to one location so that homeless, at-risk, elderly, and fully functioning veterans can access them. In previous years, it has been very targeted, and we wanted to open it up. This year, we have over 50 providers signed up currently. We have anywhere from employment, help, home health care, dental, education, and recreational activity representatives signed up. We're going to have on-site VA healthcare enrollment and treatment. So the Palo Alto VA healthcare system will be sending down a big fifth wheel RV to enroll people in healthcare and get them checked out by a doctor and possibly provide any other screenings and flu shots if available. And we will also have our Military and Veterans Affairs Office representatives, along with CalVet and the Disabled American Veterans, providing VA disability claim development and submission. And lastly, we'll have clothing distribution and food available. And just one, I wanted to give gratitude to our 501c3 affiliate, Monterey County Stand Down, particularly Robin Falkenberg and Dennis Miller, the Department of Veterans Affairs outreach team, Palo Alto VA healthcare team, our local VA clinic, Major General Gorley VA clinic team, various County of Monterey departments who signed up, and the food bank for Monterey County for providing any food. And again, questions, comments, and my contact information here.
Adams, thank you so much for walking us through this. And this stand down has really changed over the years. And, it used to be, multiple days. It used to be then one day. But adding caregivers is a real advancement. Can you talk a little bit about what came behind that?
Yes. So, we did have these huge 3-day events. We would bus veterans in from all over the state. And what we really noticed was that we would get very high amount of traffic, both caregivers, vendors, and veterans on the first day. And then we would slowly see it dwindling throughout that weekend. It would be Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And really what we wanted to do was take I guess like a more targeted approach, because a large 3-day event, we would have that, every 2 to 3 years. So we wanted to condense it and have it more often. So we're hoping to have it annually, but also, when veterans need care, oftentimes the veteran knows where to go. The veteran will go get care. If they don't seek care, then the burden falls on the family and the caregiver. We wanted to open it up so that, hey, this is a resource for the family as well. If you need help taking care of, your veteran spouse, please come. We're going to have service providers that may be able to help you out. And we just, overarching, we wanted to take a more targeted, and more frequent opportunity to serve our community.
And also caregivers who often are family members, there are programs for them too. I mean, besides supporting the veteran, there are benefits to them that they may not even be aware of.
And you hit the nail on the head right there. Is there oftentimes what we see the veteran going to the VA clinic. We see them getting treatment. They come to our office, they apply for benefits. There are specific benefits, caregiver programs. There's home health care that the VA provides. And I'm not even touching about like, the County of Monterey Department of Social Services as well. But there are specific benefits that, the veterans' healthcare complications make them eligible, but the caregiver must apply. And so we wanted to take the opportunity to invite everyone here so that, we can share some information about these programs. Because oftentimes we find out, from my personal experience, we find out a little bit too late. And, our I guess theory in this office is it's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So as long as they have the information and they know where to, go for their resources once that time comes, that's what we want to provide.
And if anyone thinks this is kind of a really somber event, it's really kind of fun. The stand downs, there are a lot of people who come there from all walks of life, a lot of really interesting people, and it's kind of fun.
It is. And, it's a good event. It's a way for the community to engage with with the veteran community. It's a way to give back, spread information, and, come out and show what your entity, what the service providers can do for you. It is not a somber event. We will have food. There's going to be people giving, service providers giving things away. I think the VA wanted to have a bounce house and we had to shut that down due to possibly the weather. But it's going to be a fun event. It's always a joy. We always get a lot of non-veteran volunteers willing to come out and help out. It's going to be a great event.
Adam, thank you so much for coming here today and talking it up. And we really hope for a super big crowd for you that they just, standing room only.
I'm hoping for it, and we will be here, rain or shine. So we will be here, and we're just very excited to serve the community and have an opportunity to serve the people that served us.
Even without a bounce house, it'll be great.
Thank you.
Thanks very much for being here today. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
And then finally, on our final topic for today, are you or the young adult in your life ready for the real world? Monterey County Works and the city of Soledad, have you covered on this one with a real world young adult survival guide event and job fair that's coming up on April 12th. This is a fantastic event. This is Adulting 101 for those who need it. We're very pleased to have a couple people here to talk about it today. We have Michael Artalejo with Monterey County Works and our friend Jessica Potts with the City of Soledad. She's the Parks and Recreation Director. Thank you both for being here. Michael, I'm hoping you'll start and share with us all about this really interesting event.
Yeah, it was, this is the brainchild of Jessica there in the City of Soledad. She reached out to Monterey County Works with her idea for this event. And we stepped in and said, well, how can we support? What can we do to help out? So based on the outline that Jessica and her team came up with, that's the real world survival guide. So Jessica and team put together the workshops that the individuals will be asked to attend, going from resume building and interview skills to financial literacy and automotive care, general automotive care. These are things that may not be hit on the inside the school grounds. So it's important, for these young adults to get this information. And once they have all this information, they will be able to come to a hiring job fair. So we'll have some employers there that are currently hiring, and we will also have some resources there for individuals that are looking to make that next career step. Now, the day's events are geared towards the younger adults, 16 to 23, but we want to open up and make sure that everyone has an opportunity to come into the job fair end of things and look for that next career. We do have, and I'm going to grab the list right now. This is our most current list right now of employers and organizations that have registered to attend. Benitez Security, CET, Central Coast Applied Behavior Analysis, County of Monterey, the elections department is going to be there. Infinity Staffing, MST, Natividad Hospital, Project Food Box, and Sheet Metal Workers Local 104. They've all registered to attend, and we're continuing to look for more employers that are hiring, that want to invest in young talent and want to give opportunities to those in our community. So that's just a little bit of overview on there. I think Jessica has more information specific to the morning or the day's events for that.
Tell us, Jessica, this is a fantastic idea. How did this all come to be?
So I was accepted into the National Recreation and Parks Association. They have a workforce development cohort. I was one of 10 that was accepted into this cohort that is designed to help build youth workforce development. Our staff is primarily built up of 16 to 23-year-olds. We have about 15 up to 26, depending on the season. And kind of our thought is if they're working, they're learning how to be more productive members of society. Soledad does at times struggle with youth violence issues, as we do see in other areas of the county. And that's part of our contribution as Parks and Recreation Department is how do we provide those platforms for our youth to find those better paths in life. And that's in our recreation, in our youth sports, but it's also in giving them those career startups in young in life. And so what we wanted to do here is we had an annual job fair working with Michael and Monterey County Works for the last couple of years, and we wanted to add a little bit of an extra element. And with the National Recreation and Parks Association comes a little bit of a grant. So luckily we have a little bit of funding. We wanted to add some of this life skills and some career skills to the job fair. So we, as he mentioned, we have some interview and some resume building elements to it. And I can't tell you how important that is. We recently did a little bit of a hiring for our own camp that we're getting ready to do. And we have kids coming in sweatpants. We have kids coming in without resumes, and they need this. They aren't getting this, and it is really, really something that is a value to our community and to our kids. We're also adding, they're getting ready to go off. I have 2 young kids that are in college, and I can't tell you how many times my daughter calls and asks me for just those basic things. So we've added to this day car maintenance, financial 101, how to get a checking account, how to budget, how to take care of yourself on those first years out on your own. Because as excited as they are, they're also so super scared. And so we're trying to give them those little bit of legs up. So we have 3 additional classes. We got cooking on a budget. We've got financial 101. and we've got that car maintenance element. So we're trying to just to have a day where they can get those little bit of basic, career skills and some life skills. Thanks to this grant, we're going to give them breakfast, we're going to give them snacks, we're going to give them lunch, we're going to give them these skills. We're going to have goodie bags that we're going to give them to them when they get there. We're going to have prizes throughout the day. The struggle that we're having is getting them there. It's on a Saturday, so it's not that sexy day off, but we want to get the kids there, and we want them to really walk away with just this great experience and this leg up, and hopefully some jobs too. So that's kind of the goal here.
Jessica, thanks so much for walking through this. And I tell you, trust a mom who, wants to launch her own kids, somebody launch all the kids. Who all is invited to this? Is it just Soledad? Is it from all over the South County community? Who can come?
When we were starting it, what I would love to have done is had, Soledad school and had a real focus there, because we really only have the ability to do 100. But my goal is to have 100 young people, and all of South County is welcome. We do have to cut it off at 100 because that's all we can handle at this point. But 100 young people that could really benefit from this is really what I'm looking for.
So should people RSVP? What's the best way to make sure that they get a spot?
Yes, we do need, it would really be helpful to have everybody RSVP. It would help us to be able to fill and organize the breakfasts and the lunches, of course. Do have, if you go to soledadparksandrec.com, there's a link there. You can go onto our website and register on our registration page. There is also a QR code that is on all of our social media pages, Soledad Parks and Rec, Facebook, Instagram. I think I did share, and I can also probably upload it onto the chat, the flyer, but those are all good places to be able to see it. And Michael also has a flyer that he's been putting out as well.
And we're going to share that on our social as well. And so for the young adults, the morning is kind of this great, get those adult tools down. And then the afternoon, the job fair is open for anyone, correct?
Yes.
Fantastic. Jessica and Michael, thank you so much for being here. This sounds like a really great thing, and hopefully we'll see more of these. And for young adults looking ahead to summer, summer's happening, and that summer job is very important. So, sometimes it's just the summer job. Sometimes it's a real job to last a lot longer. Either way, it sounds like they can get what they need.
100%.
Thanks very much for being here. Thank you, Michael, so much. And thanks everyone for joining us on the news briefing this week. Our next briefing is next week. We'll see you then.
Thank you.
Well,